So for step 40, the front wheels, well, we have to make 2 of these, and it's the same thing for the rear, but these were often way easier than the rear, and as the rears on this were pretty easy, this should go pretty smoothly. So we've got to grab our wheels, put the centerpiece in, then we're going to screw the 2 sides together with all of these little MB2 screws and nuts, and there are our wheel pieces, and then of course we have our front tires. So I'll set this up and we'll put these together. So if we grab one of our tires here, you can see that we need to put this inside of that, just as we did with the rear. Now with these ones, I find they're a little easier in that they're smaller, so we should be able to basically stick this in, pull it a bit, and then we're going to turn so that it's turning inside the tire. Basically like that. There we go. Bingo. There we go. And then same thing again. What you do have to recognize is this is what faces outward. So you need to make sure that when you're putting on the side with the nuts, you don't put it on that way. It needs to fit at the back side. So if I line this up as much as possible, may have to move that around, but we can pretty much align it like that because that is the front. Now I can tell that this one maybe isn't quite right, so I'm gonna stick this through and make sure that I can pop that back off again, and then go for the another alignment test here. Make sure that that is going down correctly. That looks right. So again, I'm using the smallest hex driver in the Tamiya set so that I can line that up, and then I can use my finger to hold it down while I stick a screw in there and then screw it in place, which it's holding nice, so I can screw that down. So again, I'm going to grab the hex, smallest hex driver in that Tamiya set, use it to put it into place so that the screw actually fits there nicely. Grab a screw, and we'll screw that into place. Now I can tell that these seem to be going in okay, so I'm just going to do this again. Grab a nut, put it in. I'm going to go to the other side now just to make sure that I've got a nice even fit. Use my finger to hold it, stick the screw inside of there, and take the screwdriver and screw it into place, which seems to be holding as well. That's great. So again, we're just going to keep going around, making sure that that all fits. We've got our nut in there, we've got our screwdriver there, our screw. Use the screwdriver, screw it down. And we got one last one, so I'll grab that nut. Put it into place, use the finger to hold it down so it doesn't pop back out. And grab our screw, slide that in. There we go. And then I can screw it into place. And there we go. So what I'm just going to do now is just go around making sure that these are all down and nice and tight. Because like I said before, as you tighten them down, other screws may get looser because everything's getting pulled closer and closer together. So you just never know. Yeah, see, that one's now loose again. So just go around making sure that all the screws are in nice and tight, and just make sure you don't over tighten because you don't want to strip anything out. But there we go. So there is one of our front tires made. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the other one. No point in seeing the same thing over and over again, and we'll come back and take a quick look. So there we go. There are both of our front wheels finished and ready to be installed. So that is the end of step 40. So we can move into step 41 and install the wheels onto the chassis. So for step 41, attaching the front wheels, well, you can see we've got two bearings that have to go on either side. Then we lock it down with the flange lock nuts, and there are our bearings and the nuts. So this is going to be fairly simple. They are showing you putting an on-off switch here as the sticker, but we put the switch in a completely different spot, so I doubt we're going to use that, but I'll take a look. Anyways, we'll set this up and we'll put the tires on. So let's grab our chassis. We'll grab one of our wheels. You can see we need to put a bearing on the outside. We need to put a bearing on the inside, just like that. And that's going to slide onto the front axle. And then we've got our flange nut, which we can now lock down. There we go. So there's one of them in place. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We've got our bearing, pop that in. Got the bearing on the other side, pop that in, and slide this over that front axle. And we'll screw in our lock nut. And there we go. So there are our front wheels installed. Very, very cool. Love it. Now the interesting thing is, and I'll take a closer look at this, is that the front wheels stick out farther than the rear, which is an interesting design. I could see it being level, but having them farther out, I would have said it might be a little bit less stable. But I'll play around with it first. We'll see how different that is. But that's interesting to see that. Normally they would be on the inside of the rear tires. Interesting, but very, very cool. So there is our there's the chassis with all four wheels on. So that means that step 41 is complete. So we're going to move on to step 42 and install the battery pack.